Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with FoneArena.com and this is the Google Nexus 5. When the Nexus 5 launched, a lot was said about the camera. People said it was just average and some said it was mandatory that you use the HDR Plus mode to take better photos. So what is the HDR Plus mode and what does it actually do? That's what exactly we are going to see in this video. So let's open up the camera first. The camera app, as you can see, is completely stock, but it does have the extra option that you don't see on the Nexus 4 or any other stock Android device, and that's HDR Plus. So when we disable HDR Plus, it actually reboots the camera into a separate viewfinder. This was something we found really intriguing and interesting. So what does HDR Plus mean? Well, according to Google, it means that it will take vivid photos by day and sharper photos by night. Well, that is not exactly the description that you usually put on a HDR name, because HDR means high dynamic range, which also means that you will have equal exposure on the foreground as well as the background if in case the background is brightly lit. So the HDR photo usually fuses 3 or more differently exposed photos into a single one. Is that what HDR Plus is on the Nexus 5? Well, according to our tests, we don't think so. That's not really the answer. But what the heck is HDR Plus? Well, we took a similar scene with two samples, one with HDR Plus and one without. So let's take a look at the both of them. First, with the HDR Plus. As you can see in this photo, it's pretty much evening and very low light conditions, but still the Nexus 5 managed to take a pretty good shot out of it. You can see the picture is nicely balanced, the colors are almost accurate and the sharpness is quite good. Now the other photo, without the HDR Plus, we took the same scene and this is what we got. As you can see from this photo, it's slightly underexposed, it's not accurate in terms of color, and the low light performance is pretty much noisy. So what is exactly the difference here? We don't see any high dynamic range improvement, even though there is a little bit of improvement in the dynamic range, but we see better sharpness, better colors, and overall we think it is the better image. The HDR Plus is the better image. So we took both these photos and examined both the photos' EXIF properties. So this is what the EXIF properties of each photo said. The HDR Plus photo has a f2.678 aperture and has a resolution of 3200 by 2368 that almost corroborates to 7.6 megapixels. It also took the image at ISO 555 and the shutter speed value was almost 1 by 21. Whereas the normal image, you could see the aperture was the 2.53, just 2.53. We are not sure how aperture, which is a hardware dependent feature, could be changed, and it took in a resolution of 3264 by 2448, which is 7.9 megapixels, a small change in the resolution, and it took at ISO 177 at a shutter speed of 1 by 9. So the shutter speed is much slower and the ISO is also much lower, but still we could see a lot of noise in the 100% crop of the image. So the HDR Plus photo is much better in terms of sharpness, in terms of noise reduction, and in terms of overall details. We think we very much prefer the HDR Plus photo instead of the normal one. But is there an apparent change in dynamic range? We don't think so. But there is a better photo in HDR Plus, we can guarantee you that. But yet again, we wanted to see another set of samples. So here you go, this is the HDR Plus sample of another scene, very similar to what we took here. And then here is the normal sample of the same scene. Here what we noted is that the EXIF values provided very similar outputs, like the aperture version and the resolution were different in both, but also we noticed that the HDR Plus photo has punchy colors more contrast and is much sharper than the normal one. The normal one, you can see in the 100% crops here, is very much natural instead of the HDR plus photo, which looks slightly artificial, slightly jagged and more sharper, but it is definitely the better photo. We also noticed that there is a bit of an improvement in the dynamic range, which is quite good. But again, that brings us to the question, is HDR plus a HDR mode, or is it something else? We think it is something else because we also compared the HDR modes of the HTC One, which is probably one of the best HDR cameras here, and the Nexus 5. So this is what we got. So you can clearly see that the background is completely bright and the foreground is completely dark in the Google Nexus 5's HDR plus photo, and side by side in comparison to the HDR photo on the HTC One, you can see that both are pretty much very well balanced and nicely tone mapped for the HDR mode on the HTC One. So definitely we can now say that the HDR plus mode on the Nexus 5 is not really HDR. It's something else. The name is completely a mistake if you ask us. So in the end, we are not sure if we know that, but the HDR plus mode on the Google Nexus 5 takes the best images thanks to a different approach in an algorithm, we think, especially since that it reboots the interface when you switch between the modes. We think it has a better algorithm. The camera algorithms are better, so that it can approach the scene in a different way. You saw in the low light image that the HDR plus mode had higher ISO, while the normal mode has lower ISO, but still the HDR plus mode has less noise than the normal mode, which means that the camera algorithms are a lot more mature with the HDR plus mode, and it doesn't even induce shake because of the optical image stabilization. You have better shutter speed here, 1/21. So in the end, we think the HDR plus mode is probably the mode that you should use on the Nexus 5. Don't use the normal mode. There is not any difference unless you want to notice the speed at which the interface takes the photo, because it's not instantaneous. You can see that the photo will be inserted after I take it. For example, if I take a photo right now with the HDR mode, so this is a photo right there. It has taken a photo after a really long time, and you can see that the photo will be inserted after some time. So if you don't want this delay, then use the normal mode, but guaranteed you'll be taking worse photos with the normal mode than with the HDR plus, which takes surprisingly good photos. So what is HDR plus? There is no answer to that. Google doesn't tell us what HDR plus means, but we think it might be probably one of the other features that you don't see on the AOSP camera. The normal mode is apparently AOSP algorithms, and we think HDR plus is hardware specific Nexus 5 dependent algorithms by Google. We will see how this progresses over time, but for now this is what we have found. So that's it for the video. What do you think? What do you think HDR plus means for you? Is it just better photos, or is it just another way for Google to lock down a specific feature to its phones and not releasing it to AOSP? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do hit the like button and do hit the subscribe button if you want more videos like these. Thanks for watching.